I know Gary should be coming on any minute now. He was at my house about 15, 20 minutes ago, so we'll have to wait a couple of minutes yet. Okay, I just talked to Gary. He said he's trying to hook up, so I guess we can start. Matt, do we just want to start with Greg right away, or did you have something special to start with?
Just good evening, everyone, and I think we can turn it over to Mr. Durr. Talk about hot air balloons.
Welcome, everyone. The first item on the agenda this evening is a request by the Lehigh Valley Hot Air Balloon, I guess maybe association. They are a group of hot air balloon enthusiasts who the main office is in Walnutport, and they have requested to use our parking lots for a hot air balloon event that's going to be held October 22nd through the 24th. And the event is held at the airport, the Slatington Airport, and they would like to use our parking lots to park vehicles. And if things go well, their plan is to partner with Brandywine Transportation to provide some busing back and forth between our district and the airport. The reason it's on the agenda is that our facility use policy requires us to have board approval for a Sunday event that starts before noon, and they are looking to start Sunday morning before noon. So that's the reason it's on there. They do have a certificate of liability, and they do reside within our boundaries, so the use would be free to them. And I'll open up for any questions about it.
Greg, I just have one. With the amount of people we're going to be busing, are you going to be looking for any type of security or them or any type of to have Officer Jones or myself there for that event?
I can answer that. The answer is no. They would be liable for their own security, and would be an agreement between them and Brandywine Transportation, not us. They would only be looking to use our parking spaces.
Oh, if no one has any further questions, I will have that on the board agenda for their facility use approval. And, you know, with the COVID-19, if something comes up, I will make sure that the group is aware that, you know, the parking lots may not be available in the event that something says that they can't hold it. The next item on there is the
Greg, before
transportation.
you start, do we need a motion on that at all, Matt? Approve that.
There'll be a board motion on the agenda for Monday evening
Okay.
that pretty much just says, allow them to have a Sunday use.
Okay.
The next item's the transportation RFP, just a little update on that. It was out there for 3 weeks consecutively in the public, and we only had one vendor request the RFP, and that was Brandywine Transportation. So they are due March 24th. So more on that to come at the next Buildings and Grounds meeting. The next items that I have on there are kind of budgetary items. The first thing, we started our budget meetings with internally here, and one of the items that I have that I'm looking to purchase yet this year out of my existing budget, if money allows, would be a snowplow for on the new small dump truck that we purchased. At the time, there was $60,000 to work with, and there was not enough room to fit the plow on it. At that time, it does have the box on it, the dump box, the salt spreader, and it would be a great asset to have a plow on that for our snowstorm. So it kind of only, right at this point right now, it's good for hauling mulch and that kind of thing and salting parking lots, but I'd like to increase its use by adding a plow to it. So I do not have an estimate on how much the plow is yet, but that's to come down the road. So I'll bring, are there any questions about that?
I think it's a great idea, Greg.
Thank you. So a little bit later at one of our Buildings and Grounds meetings towards spring, we'll talk about that a little more. The next item that is on my budgetary list, and this has been on the long range plan for a while, is a replacement zero-turn lawnmower. So we have a small John Deere lawnmower that we use. It has a 5-foot deck on it, and we use it for in the tight areas throughout the entire district. And the one we have is several years old now, and we use it very hard. And when that one breaks down, we hopefully can get a loaner. And sometimes we're just, we got to wait till it's returned to us. So this is something that was on our long range maintenance plan for a while. And it's another purchase that I'd like to make from my regular budget, from the existing budget I have this year. CoStar's pricing is $12,150. And the reason I have it on the agenda tonight to talk about it a little bit more is the vendor tells me that if we would not move forward with committing to purchasing one now, that we probably would not be able to get one once spring arrives. So I guess I'm looking for input. If the committee would agree to move forward and allow me to purchase it. I have had some considerable savings in some areas just due to the COVID-19. So I'll open up the questions. Anyone?
Greg, I think if you need that for your team to get the mowing done, that would be a good idea. As long you say it's already budgeted in, right?
Yes, it's something that would be purchased from this year's budget.
Greg, I'm good with that too. This is Bob Kern.
Thank you, Bob. So I'll move it forward to the agenda for Monday evening's approval. As always, if anyone has any questions, please, email me or come and find me here at the school. The next agenda item is summer workers. It's something that we put on hold last year due to COVID-19, and this year we've we'd like to bring the 5 students back and 1 team leader. Something that the board has allowed us to do in the past. They are very beneficial to helping out with a lot of the extra projects that we don't always get to. Painting, mulching, cleaning up different areas like out behind Peters, that area, that memorial that was there. They did that the one year. So looking for the board's approval to at least budget for the summer workers.
I'll jump in here really quickly, just so you know, we are looking, if we do this again, to pay the workers $10 an hour like we did last time and $15 an hour for the supervisor. So we are not looking at any increase in cost for what they had made the prior year. We are looking at keeping that status quo.
Thank you, Sherry, for that. I don't see any problem with that doing it again this year.
I'm fine as long as we don't have any COVID-related responses, and I would, want the hirees to understand that, if we get shut down or whatever, we're not going to bring them in. So,
Yes, we certainly would make that clear.
yeah, okay, then I'm fine with it.
Can I ask what would be the total, what would be the expected cost for the district?
Same as last year, number of hours worked, time to cost, times days worked. If you're looking for a dollar amount, we can't tell you that right now because we don't know how many we would actually hire or how many days they would actually work. It would be $10 an hour for the students, $15 an hour for the supervisor.
I'm sorry, I jumped off. I think it was somewhere around 11,000 last time we did it, Rhonda.
Yeah, I think between 11 and 12. I think we had planned on 10 weeks last year, but then a lot of the kids don't work the full 10 weeks, whether they're going back to school and things like that. But I do believe you're right. I believe it was around $12,000 we budgeted last year.
Yep, and we were under that amount of money. So it's, I think we're only paying piecers for just the staff member if it happens to be a staff
Correct.
member. The kids don't get piecers or anything out like that taken out on it. So that keeps the cost way down.
Right, that is correct.
Any other questions on summer workers? Well, we will move forward and have an agenda item on there Monday night for us to look to hire some summer workers. Thank you. The next item is the fuel bids. It's just an FYI that we do bid with a consortium, and I was required to submit my quantities to the same consortium that we've used probably 6-7 years now at least. And the fuel bids will be awarded on April 30th. They tell me around 9:30 a.m. And as we have in the past, Matt, Sherry, and I will meet and take a look. And usually we have to lock something in within the hour. That's just the way they've been. It's so tight that we need to lock in quickly. And the board has allowed us in the past to move forward with the best interests of the district in hand. So any questions on the fuel bid?
How did that end up, excuse me, last year, Greg? I know you said all the tanks were full. We didn't take what we needed. What were just the overall ramifications of that? How did that work out?
Well, we actually ended up by filling. We topped off all the tanks at the end of the spring. I'm going to say last May or June to fill our commitment. And right now it looks like Slatington and Peters Elementary will get by or through the season with only one tractor trailer load of heating oil. The middle school and the high school, they both received deliveries today. They were not going to have enough fuel to make it into past the heating season. So we've revised our numbers a little bit for next year again, just anticipation that the high school and the middle school tanks will be a little more full, so there was a less of a commitment there for those.
We did make our commitment, though. We weren't penalized for not using enough fuel or anything like that. We were okay that way.
Yep. Last year we were able to take every gallon that we committed to. It was a challenge, but we made it fit amongst the 4 tanks.
Thank you.
Sure. The next item on the agenda is Mr. Frank Naus, and I'll turn the meeting over to him.
Hello, everybody. The next item is the purchase of a second police vehicle. As you are all aware, we've been searching for a police vehicle for quite some time. In a previous meeting, we had approved that as long as we kept the amount within $20,000 of the PCCD grant that we had been approved and awarded for the police vehicle, we got the go-ahead to continue to search. I have recently found one, and it is a black in color 2014 Ford Edge. It has approximately 70,000 miles on, just a little less, 69 and change. And it's from Koch 33 Ford. The great thing about the vehicle is it is in wonderful condition, and it has a lifetime warranty up to 100,000 miles. So we have 30,000 miles to put on the vehicle, and the engine, the transmission, everything underneath the hood will be covered. It is also free inspection for the vehicle for the life of the vehicle from Koch 33 Ford. With all of that being said, the price of the vehicle and to get it upfitted for the police department, meaning lettered lights, anything that it needs to be put on the road, and also medical equipment to store inside the vehicle, we will be under or really, really close, but still under that $20,000 awarded for the grant of the vehicle. If anybody has any questions about the vehicle or what we're going to put on the vehicle, I'm not sure from this point forward, Matt, maybe you can, do we need to second the purchase of the vehicle, so on and so forth?
Well, what we're looking for really is because the board previously approved the purchase up to $20,000. We still wanted to be very transparent about it and bring it back to this committee. And if this committee supports, I would like to then make it part of my board update Monday evening that we would like to send a PO tomorrow. We don't want to lose another vehicle that we've been trying to find like we did last time that fully suits our needs. Like Frank said, it'll be under $20,000 for the purchase of the vehicle. Any the lights, the sirens add-on, and the lettering, and then the medical go bag that goes in the back of the vehicle. And we would like to actually issue that PO tomorrow. Since the board previously approved the purchase, we would just like kind of the endorsement of this committee again. My understanding is if that's the case, I think Officer Naus, they said they could have the vehicle delivered this week.
Yes, that's correct. They could even have it delivered as early as tomorrow, late morning. And also, I want to add, we were very picky about the vehicle type selection we wanted. We had several meetings. It is an all-wheel drive vehicle, so on days that we have inclement weather, I can still go out in the snow, or days where students are fully remote, myself and Officer Jones, we can go student visits to do welfare checks, retrieve equipment, and also the inside of the vehicle, with it being an SUV, we've elected not to put a police cage in the vehicle, which allows us to have a lot more compartmental storage space in the vehicle if we need to move barricades or equipment or something else related in police. So that, again, I just wanted to make sure that that was also transparent in there in the selection of the vehicle, because we could have gotten something much cheaper like we have now, but unfortunately the vehicle that we have now, with all the snow we had and the horsepower, it just was too much. We really put a lot of work and effort into finding the proper vehicle.
Can you put a snow plow on that and help Greg plow snow since it's a 4-wheel drive? Then he won't have to buy that snow plow. Just kidding, obviously. I'm fine if you go ahead with it, Frank. And I would even add a little caveat. If with fitting it, refitting it, outfitting it, whatever you call that, even if you run a bit over the 20,000, I'm okay with that. And you said you probably wouldn't, but don't not do what you really need to do because you're afraid you're going to go, a couple of bucks over. So I'm perfectly fine with it.
Thank you, Matt. This is Robin. Frank, I'm perfectly well with that as well. And like I said, the 20,000, if it's over a couple $100, that's fine with me as well.
I agree.
Anna, do you want to comment?
I agree. Thank you, Frank.
Barry?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Officer Nels, thank you for all the work that you put into that to finding a vehicle that fully meets our needs. I know that was a project for you over the last couple months, and then when we found one, to be able to move quickly and lock it in. So good job on that, Officer Nels. And again, I would just like to point out again to the committee, Frank did mention it, but this is being fully paid through the PCCD grant. So, okay, Mr. Disler, that transitions into technology now.
Okay, Eric.
Good evening, everybody. Yep, good evening. First thing I have on the list there is just a review of the recycling. We talked about this at the last meeting, I believe it was. Just wanted to let everybody know that we did complete the recycling. Sycamore International sent out a 26-foot box truck, and we completely filled that truck with a lot of old electronic equipment. I just have approximate numbers here. I can give you a detailed list if anybody needs it, but we did about 60 old desktop computers. Most of those were from 2012. There was a few from 2014. Over 60 old LCD monitors. We did have some other monitors that we found that were actually still good, so we set those off to the side. We had 8 old TVs, different size models. Approximately 40 projectors, and then we had about 10 plus overhead projectors, and we had 30 plus UPSs and batteries. Those were from the project that we did over the summer that we had still around. Those are very heavy. Those filled up pallets, and those pallets were, I think as Steve put it, they were as heavy as a small car, some of them. So they were very heavy. And we did approximately 28 Promethean smart boards. Those were like the big 70 to 80 inch Promethean boards that we took out of Peters last summer. They were stored at the basement, Peters Elementary. They took those as well. We did approximately, I think it was 5 laser printers. We had an old, really old copier, a couple scanners. We had some pallet of old networking equipment that was laying around in the warehouse. And then we had just a combination of miscellaneous hard drives, cables, accessories that they took. The company for the hard drives, they do shred the hard drives, and so they do take care of that as well. So if there's any date on there, we would wipe them before they go out anyway, but if there would be any date on there, they do shred them, and they handle everything from that end. So yeah, so we really cleaned up a lot of equipment at Peter's basement. In the warehouse up here. And then what we do after we recycle, Stephen Haas, he keeps a list of all the equipment that we're recycling, and then he gives that to Mr. Keith Utch down here in the warehouse, and then Keith removes everything from the inventory system. But again, this was all old equipment that really had no value. So we were able to clean up a lot of space. So it was a lot of work. Mr. Kyle Kramer and Mr. Stephen Haas put a lot of time and effort into that, and they did a good job on that project. So does anybody have any questions about that?
Was it revenue neutral?
It was revenue neutral, yes, it was. And actually, I was worried that it was going to cost us money because I was afraid the Promethean smart boards, and we had a lot of projectors, and we also had we had a pallet of old televisions, and a lot of people don't like to take those. Those usually cost us money. But it ended up being neutral. They said they would do it free of charge, and they did. They didn't charge us anything for it. So yeah, so it turned out it didn't cost us anything. We're also not getting any money, but I wasn't expecting any money. So I was actually very pleased at that. Initially, when I saw what we had, I was afraid it was actually going to cost us some money, but it ended up being neutral. Yep, good question. Any other questions? Okay, hearing none, I'll move on to the next item. Next item I have on the list is the Chromebook order. Typically, what we do is every year we get lease money for technology purchases for the upcoming school year. So this would be for the 2021-22 school year. And what we're looking to do this year is, last year we ordered Chromebooks for Peters Elementary. This year, Slatington Elementary is the school that we are looking to replace all the Chromebooks there. So we are looking to order 400 Chromebooks. We will also order cases. And in addition to that, we're going to be looking at doing some projectors. This year, we'd be looking at doing projectors like in the district office conference room, boardroom, the Peters Library, middle school library, and the high school library. The reason I have this on the agenda tonight, typically we don't talk about this until we get closer to the budget time. And usually we approve that lease when the budget's passed. That's typically when this lease is approved. The reason I bring this up tonight is the vendor that we typically place orders through told us that right now there's a 6-month lead time on the order of Chromebooks. So what we would like to do is we would like to order the Chromebooks ahead of time, place the order for them now, because we're looking at a 6-month time to get them in. And if we ordered them now, we're already, this is the first week of March, so already we're looking at, potentially the end of August, maybe into the first week of September to get these Chromebooks. If we order them now, we would order just the Chromebooks and the Chromebook license. We order a license that comes with them. If we order them now, we would not be billed for the Chromebooks until they come in. Okay, so we would not, they would actually come out of next year's budget. But we would like to get them ordered now so we have them so we can get them in on time. And I think it's urgent this year because looking at our cycle of Chromebooks, a lot of the Chromebooks that we have at Slatington Elementary right now, the lifespan of them, if you look at the Google has they have a website where you can go and look at the lifespan of the item. They're actually going to run out in 2021. So it would be, we really need to get these Chromebooks in before school if possible, or definitely before the other Chromebooks become obsolete. So typically, again, like as I said, we would order this later for the next budget year, but we would like to order the 400 of the Chromebooks now, and that way we can get them in and pay for them out of the lease like we normally do, for the next school year. Now, the question might be, what happens if they happen to come in early? If they would happen to come in early, we do have built into my budget, we actually have $100,000 built in, that Sherry built in. And what that money was for, we're not actually using the money. That's actually built in. We're bumping that up every year. And that is to pay for address that 2 years down the road. That money is in my budget that we're not using. So we would have money to pay for the Chromebooks if they would happen to come in early. And actually, if they come in early, that would be a good thing. But I really don't see them coming in anytime until probably mid-end summer is probably when they'll come in. One other advantage to ordering them now is if we order them now, the Chrome licenses, for every Chromebook that we buy, we pay a Chrome license to Google. Right now, they're $24. Actually, next week, they're going up to $31. So if you do the math, that's another couple $1,000 saving if we order them right now. So again, typically, this is something that we would do later in the year when we approve the budget. But what I'd like to do is just get those on order now. So we have them on order so we can continue, so we don't have any distractions going into the next school year. So does anybody have any questions or comments about that? Or does anybody have any issues about doing that?
Sounds good to me. This is Gary.
This is Robin. Sounds good to me as well.
Thank you, Eric. I agree.
That's fine.
This is Donna, yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you. That's what we'll do. We will get those ordered. And I'm not going to order the cases and things like that. It's just, this is strictly just the Chromebooks and licenses, and we'll move forward with that. That's all I have, unless anybody has any questions for me. Thank you very much.
Hi, Eric. I have a quick one.
Yes.
I noticed in an email that said that Google was going to start charging some fees for our platform that we are using. Do we have any idea where that's going, or what that's going to cost us? And then I'm not asking for a definitive number, just just planning purposes.
Yeah. Let me clarify that. Right now, Google, what Google is doing is they are, and they started doing this a few years back already. We have the Google for Education, and then they have a Google for Education Plus. So what they did now is, in the Google for Education Plus, it's like right now it's like a couple dollars per student, and you get like some extra features in Google. What Google has just announced is they are now going with 4 different plans. So the plan that we're on now, we're actually on the free plan. They're going to keep that plan. So we are okay. It's not going to cost us any money at this time. We're not going to lose any features that we have. So basically what we have now, we are good. Okay. It's not going to cost us anything. But what they did is they added 3 paid levels now. And with the first paid level, I apologize, I don't have it right here in front of me, but so I don't remember the exact names. But the first paid level is it's roughly $2 or $3. I think it's $2 per student per month. That gives you like some extra security features. There's some extra features that you can do with security. Some of the phishing attacks, like you would have a little more control over some of the emails coming in and out, where we could kind of go in there and stop it right away. Some of those things we don't have access to with the free plan. But again, it's no different than what we have now. Then they're going to have like I forget what it's called, some kind of teacher and student edition. I think that's going to be I think the one was $2 a month, $3 a month. Don't quote me exactly, but it's roughly that. And that one adds some extra, like in the Google Meet features. What that does is, if you buy the teacher edition one, that gives you some really nice features, kind of like you have in Zoom, where you have breakout rooms. You have you can do surveys within a meeting like this. It gives you some other options. And then they have a premium plan, which is about roughly $4 per student a month, which pretty hefty fee. And then that gives you again, it gives you more. It gives you like where your Google Classrooms will sync with your PowerSchool server. We don't have that now. So basically, you are correct. Google is adding some other options on there. But right now, what we use for the free version is we are told that that's all carrying over into the new free version. So we're not going to see a change in what we have. One of my concerns is going forward is, I think, knowing we have a couple teachers on this meeting, they would love some of the features that I just said. They would love to have that PowerSchool integration. That would make their lives so easy. They would love to have those breakout rooms. I guarantee you they would love to have those kind of things. So it's something we can certainly look at in the future, but I don't think it's anything to be concerned about immediately.
Okay, you answered my question. I'm familiar with a product called Schoology, which does basically the same technology platform, that the highest level I'm hearing that Google is going to be offering. And I got to tell you, my experiences with Schoology have been excellent. Less clicks, less, maneuvering from window to window to window. The platform is all right there. Way more convenient for parents, way more convenient for teachers. And it does sync with PowerSchool. I mean, I don't know what the cost of that is per student, but that is something that if we're going to be charged for things that we're going to need in the future, I would start thinking about looking at a better product for maybe the same price. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, and I agree with you. Yeah, you're correct, because there's other like right now we use Canvas at the high school. Schoology is actually Power School. I believe owns Schoology. Somehow they're I believe it's owned by Power School at this point.
You're correct.
Yeah, I'm familiar with Schoology. And yeah, you're correct. If you're going to be spending that much money, yeah, you might as well look at your options. So yeah, I agree. At that point, we would look at the options. But we are not going to be paying anything at this point. We're going to keep the platform that we have. Going forward, you know, it's something we may look at down the road. But yeah, at that point, you'd have to evaluate other options. I agree.
Yeah, thank you. I just think it's much user friendly. You know, now that I'm involved in the Google Classroom. And versus Schoology, my experiences of 10 years using that, Schoology is way more convenient for staff to use and parents. But there is a cost, and I understand that. Thank you.
Yep. Okay. You're welcome.
Yeah, Eric, just quick math would tell you that would cost us about 80 grand a year or something like that to go to that level 4. And I would think there would be other options of other equipment, et cetera, we could purchase for that price. So
yes, you are correct. It's not an easy number to look at. Yeah. But I think there are some deals out there too. I think they do work with school districts and give you some better pricing. But some of that pricing you have to be careful with because sometimes it's only introductory pricing, for the first year or 2 years. So it's something that certainly we'd have to evaluate. But yeah, there's a lot of nice things out there. Comes down to cost though, unfortunately, a lot of times. So.
No, I agree, Matt. You're absolutely right. There is a cost involved. But if we're talking about the education of students and we're going to start integrating technology more in the classroom and use of the classroom, we need a very good product to handle all the things that we would be able to do. And that's my concern. And I'm not seeing Google Classroom doing those things if we're going to forward technology or infuse technology in learning. And that's my opinion, and it's my expert opinion. I'm very familiar with it, so I know there's a cost, and believe me, I understand that emphatically. I get it, But let's see what we get for our buck here too, as well. I'm about the education of kids, and if we got to pay a few more dollars to enhance that program, that's the direction I think education is going, and I think through COVID. We've experienced a lot on how we are going to be relying on technology in the future. So that's just my opinion. Thank you.
Yep. No, good input. Very good input. Thank you.
I'm certainly not disagreeing with you, Bob. You're talking one-on-one Matt here, but that's an old story. I'm only suggesting that before we spend the $80,000 on Google, we take your advice and we look at what some of the other options are. And I don't know what they are, because I'm not up to date on it. I'll be very honest with you, but I would think for that money plus what we're paying, maybe Chromebooks, Google is not the way to go. You're absolutely right. So
I agree with you, Matt, 100%.
Yeah, and it doesn't necessarily mean that Chromebooks aren't the way to go, because you can use Chromebook. Like Schoology is more of a it's the learning management system, the platform. You could still use a Chromebook with Schoology. So they're the big players. Is you have the Google Classroom, you have Schoology, and Canvas are probably your 3 biggest players in the space. So yeah, it's something we could evaluate down the road for sure. As you said, as you integrate more and more. Yeah.
The device we're using doesn't matter. It's the platform. That's all it is. It's the
Correct.
program. We'll call it the program. So that's all. Thanks.
Yep. Correct.
If I can suggest, if you get to the point where you're thinking about making a change, maybe talk to some other districts. I know my wife, who works for Parkland, uses Schoology, and they're very happy with it too. So, Bob, you're right.
Oh yeah, and that would be something if we were ever to evaluate something like that down the road. There would certainly be that would certainly be something. I wouldn't make that decision by myself. That would certainly be led by teachers, administration. We would definitely have principals involved, teachers involved. That would be that would be a big change. So yeah, that's not something I would make one decision on that. But definitely we would that would be a group decision. Absolutely. Okay, that's all I have, unless there's any other questions or discussions.
Thank you, Eric.
Okay, Mr. Dissler, that closes out the Technology Buildings and Grounds Committee. If you want to officially close the meeting, we can transition into the Finance Committee then.
You think since we covered all the bullet points, I guess we can close the meeting. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Disler. And if you want to pull up your Finance Committee agenda, we will start with Mrs. Bonnick and a cafeteria report. I do need to just let everybody know in about 9 minutes, I'm going to need to excuse myself so I can go to my school. But you're in good hands here. So that being said, Mrs. Bonnick, you're up.
Hi there. Last month, Matt Green, you had asked me about the finances for the cafeteria. So I put some numbers down and I did them year to date. So when I looked at the revenues from last year to this year, down by 63% in revenues. And that obviously is because of the way we're feeding right now with the hybrid and with the grab and go. It's just not lucrative. Plus we have no a la carte sales whatsoever, no catering, that sort of thing. So with that being said, 63.8% is the percentage number. It's $110,292.70 to be exact. And then as far as expenses are concerned, we've done a very good job on that, on trying to keep that down. We haven't replaced positions. We're only ordering food when necessary. We're beg, borrowing, and stealing from each unit on a daily basis. Somebody's running low, they'll give a call over to one of the other schools. So currently our expenses are down by 67.8%. Again, that has a lot to do with the labor we haven't filled, and obviously the food cost is down significantly. And I have to say supplies, and that is a big thank you to Tanya and the grant that she received, and we were able to buy all the paper and the paperware that we needed to get through this COVID process. So that is a part of that number as well. Does anybody have any questions on that? I know it stinks.
Thank you, Sue. Appreciate it. Thank you.
So is all your equipment okay and everything?
What's that?
Is all your equipment and everything okay?
Well, Matt and I were just talking about that last week, and I am going to put a bid out for a dishwasher at the middle school and a dishwasher at the high school, because again, Tanya had said there is potential perhaps on getting a grant for that. So I have calls out to two. I have to find a third company to have them do a site visitation to look at the equipment and see what it would cost to replace what we currently have in there. At this point, I believe that's the only piece of equipment that we know is on the go. We did replace a compressor in the freezer at the middle school, and it's beautiful now. It's working great. And that was like a $9,000 hit in our expense line this year. So, but it's doing great now. So we're happy with that.
That's good, because I know the expenses get very high when we start talking about equipment, and if you're just trying to keep things going. But sounds like we're okay right now.
Yeah, for now. But you know, we have an open dialogue all the time, administration. So Matt and Tanya know exactly, you know, where we are and where we're at, and we have if we can't afford something, we have another plan in place to continue. So if we can't afford it at that time, we'll figure out and go to option 2.
I would just like to remind the committee this evening that the middle school kitchen is on the long-term project list to do. It is the kitchen that's in the most significant need of really a renovation. I believe it was on the upcoming year list. It was either this upcoming year or the following year. I think it was this upcoming year. The need there has not gone away. And, you know, we'll be discussing that that'll show up on the long-term project plan again as part of the budget presentation. And we'll need to have some conversations about what do we want to do with the middle school kitchen. But right now, Sue is correct. It's the 2 dishwashers at the secondary buildings they must be replaced.
Okay, thank you.
That's all I have to report tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue.
Transportation subsidy?
Yeah, so last year we know we went into negotiations with Brandywine to come up with a new renegotiated contract to pay through the end of the year. And I had presented the board with, well, actually the committee and the board with the information concerning how much money we would receive in subsidy if we agreed to pay them their cost as if COVID didn't happen, was kind of like the way they phrased it, PD phrased it last year. When I was showing those preliminary projections last year, I was saying that we should, if we do pay them what we paid them, which ended up being like $270-some thousand at the end of the year is what we paid them, but we did see a substantial savings yet on top of that we didn't pay. And I was projecting we would see subsidy revenue this year of $654,000 roughly. We did get our preliminary numbers back the other day. We will be receiving currently right now preliminary $660,000. So I was pretty much right on target with where I thought we were going to be. That is a preliminary number. That number can fluctuate a little. It does not fluctuate much. So renegotiating the contract last year saved us money, and it also gave us our subsidy this year as well, keeping us exactly where I thought we were going to be. So it worked out in our benefit. So having said that, we now have section 1501.8 of the school code this year, which is also talking about transportation subsidy again. They know that we are in that hybrid situation, a lot of school districts, which again means that our contractors are taking a hit, and they want to make sure our contractors can still whole and are in business when we do actually return to a full situation, hopefully, knock on wood, next year. If that happens, where we're running 5 days a week. So currently at this point in time, we're doing 4 days a week. So 1 day a week, we are not transporting students on that Wednesday because we are doing a fully asynchronous day. In doing that, PD has come out and said that you need to work with your bus provider, and basically they're saying that in order to receive subsidy in 21-22 equal to what we got this year or the greater, depending upon what that would drive out, but you wouldn't get any less than what you're going to receive this year. So you need to work with your contractors again. They are going to have to supply to us what they consider to be their variable costs. And that is the only thing they cannot charge us. Variable costs, they are linking out to be things like labor, so that's bus drivers and aides that are on the bus, things like fuel, maintenance, tolls, and any other costs not part of school district transportation in 2021. So any kind of new costs that they would have incurred this year. So we know fuel we already pay for on the front end ourselves. We don't charge Brandywine. We get all the fuel. Greg talked about our fuel bids earlier. So fuel is out of the picture. It is any maintenance they would have done on the buses, and it's any kind of labor for those bus drivers and aides. They, unlike last year when they said you had to pay all of those people, this year they're not saying that. That is a variable cost that you can take out. So PD has developed the form that we have to get to Brandywine that will then give them that they have to certify to us what their variable cost is. Now, if we look at, let's just say January 18th to the 20th, 27th, whatever, we look at a 1 week or a 2 week period this year. They need to compare that 1 week to 2 week period last year. So we're going to try and pick a period where we had five days last year, so no snow days, nothing like this. We had 5 days, and this year we would have been 5 days had COVID not happened, and we would have been on school on a Wednesday. So they need to compare those two costs and then come up with, this is our variable cost. And that's where we get that driving factor of what those variable costs would be. At that point in time, they need to certify that to us. And then we need to fill out a form that we need to, as a district, certify to PD to say, we are making the contractors whole based on not paying them for their variable costs. Therefore, we would like to receive our same subsidy next year. Before we go, I'm going to ask Brandywine for that paperwork. We are going to work with the process with them. At that point in time, I'm going to run those numbers again. But being last year that we went 4 months with absolutely no transportation, I'm thinking it's going to work out in our advantage again to work with them and pay them so that we can get our subsidy again. And I think we're still going to see a savings on this end because we're going to be able to back out those variable costs, but then we're also going to be able to receive all of our subsidy next year as well. So that is going to be our recommendation, but we're still working through that process with Brandywine at this point in time. Does anybody have any questions on that?
No, Brandywine is willing to work with you, correct?
Yes, Brandywine is definitely willing to work with us on that. Yes.
Okay. Anybody else have questions?
No.
No. Okay.
All right. So the next thing we have on the agenda is ESSERS 3, which is President Biden's recommendation that is out there for approval. If it comes to fruition, Northern Lehigh stands to see $2.79 million as a one-time into our school district. They are saying that cost can be slightly high, but they are saying that you will see a substantial amount of money. PASBO has clearly came out and said it will be a substantial amount of money. That money has to be used for the exact same thing as other ESSERS funds. So it has to be used for things for COVID and that kind of stuff. PPE and all those kind of things to keep a healthy environment, and we'll get children back into school. So ESSERS 3 also, the state has a right to hold 10% of that money back for their own usage. And then they have already told us that $580,000 of that money, we as a school district must use for lost instructional time. So would be the ability for us to offer like summer programs or that kind of stuff, busing for summer programs for students and stuff to get them back up to where they basically the schooling that they've missed. $2.79 million, if we even get 2.5 is a lot of money at Northern Lehigh. I would assume we're probably, and you know what they say about assuming, but I'm going to assume Mr. Link and Dr. Stoker have definitely had the forefront of the lost instructional time that these students have lost throughout the year. I would think we're going to put as much money as we can that will give the most benefit to our students that can bring them back up so they're not suffering when they return to school next year. So that's just a little bit on that. It's kind of hanging out there in the background. We're still waiting for it to be totally passed through everything. And we'll see where it goes from there, but it does look promising that we're going to see a hefty amount of money coming our way.
And Sherry, you may have that's over 2 years, correct?
Correct. We have until right. That is the same as ESSERS 2. So we've got till September of 2023 to use that money as well. Yep.
That's good news from us, something positive. Anybody have any questions?
Yes, I do, Sherry. So,
sure.
So the monies we have left over from our last gift, I'll call it. I don't know what else to call it. Compared to now what we may be receiving, what might be that total amount? I mean, I know it's all guessing and hypothetical. So.
Yep. No. So there's 279 here. Let me pull up that spreadsheet that I have. If you give me 2 seconds here, I can.
Yeah, I just forget what we spent and what was left.
Yeah. Well, that ESSERS 2, we're still working on
right.
finalizing that and what we're using that money for. So we know we use those bipolar ionizations for part of that, and the bubbling systems were also part of that. And then there was I know we had some technology stuff that we needed to do in order to keep the technology open and stuff. So I could give you the total amount, but we haven't locked down yet on exactly what we're using it for. So hold on, let me just open up that spreadsheet.
Well, while you're doing that, because I'm looking at Eric's budget, he's buying Chromebooks. Mm-hmm. You know, if we don't have, and Mr. Link, if I'm stepping on toes, you say, Bob, shut up, and I will. You know, where are we going in our expenditures as far as using that money? And if technology obviously is something we could purchase with it, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I'm just looking, here we are talking about buying, 400 Chromebooks, and are we going to be able to, and I know we can utilize the money. I'm not saying that. what are we going to get for the biggest bang for a buck? That's kind of where I'm looking at.
And technology is always on the table. Professional development for technology, all those type of expenditures. The only thing we have to be cautious of, especially with the laptops and Chromebooks, is we typically do those on a lease. Right. So we need to make sure, looking 3, 4, 5 years out, that we can sustain the lease, because the money coming in is only one-time monies. Right. So eventually it has to be built back into our operating budget for those type of purchases. Hey, that being said, everyone, I'm going to excuse myself. I hope everyone has a great night, and thank you for your participation.
And amen.
Okay.
So, Bob, we had ESSERS 2 was $1.46 million, and we have what we're calling the wish list. There is, like I said, those bipolar ionization machines on there. There's those water bubblers. There was technology, I think like a Bldg server or some kind of a big technology.
Yeah.
That's what we were doing.
Yeah, do you want me to answer, Mr. Kern, quickly about that? Yeah, one of the big things we're looking at, Mr. Kern, is our Bldg Center, which is a big, expensive project. When we're looking at our Bldg Center, that's all of our servers. That's our DNS servers, our file servers, things like that. It's also our VPN servers. There's basically that. It's all of our equipment that runs our servers, all of our file space, things like that. One of the things that we're looking at with some of the ESSERS money is we are looking to upgrade that. Because that's a big ticket item. And that's something we are looking to upgrade with the ESSERS money. And honestly, in the long run, that'll help our budget. That'll help our technology budget in the long run. So rather than spending it on Chromebooks, we're looking at doing things like that. So that's on the ESSERS wish list. But I didn't bring that up yet because that's some things we were talking about. That's, like I said, it's a wish list at this point, but looks like it may happen. So that's something we'll discuss back maybe at the next meeting. But yeah, that's kind of what we're looking at, just so you know.
No, that's great planning, and that's why I'm asking. So,
yep.
I just want to make sure, this is a one-time,
right.
Here it is. Let's do the best with it, what we can, and so that, our budget, can be helped along the way. And I'm sure many other school districts are doing the exact same thing. And, and I know you guys are on top of it. I'm not worried about it. I'm just, just curious and asking questions. Thank you.
Yep. Yeah. No, good questions.
So Bob, so just so you know, so of that 1.46, we still have about $770-some thousand that we have not put on a wish list yet. So we are actually meeting the beginning part of next week. I believe it's me, Tanya, and Matt and Rhonda. We're meeting to discuss kind of finalizing up that wish list and then seeing what we're thinking about for the rest of that money as well, so we can get, because we haven't actually submitted that grant yet. But we are allowed to spend it at this point in time because we can do it back to March of last year. So we can buy stuff now, although it doesn't get approved till later. It's our money. We just got to jump through the hoops and do the application process to get it. We're just finishing up that application process.
And okay, thank you so much. And the next question I have is, now we're coming back 4 days a week. We obviously know we have protocols we have to follow. There's going to be extra cleaning supplies in the classrooms. And so, want to make sure that we're covered for all those types of things, the foreseeable future. That's
correct.
All.
Correct. And we actually sat in cabinet the other day, well, actually ATM yesterday morning, and discussed a lot of those things. So we talked about some things that we might need. Again, we need more thermometers, because we're still going to be thermometering the kids when they come to school, but we were dealing with half the number of kids. Now we're bringing them all back. So we're going to need more thermometers to make that process a speedier process in the morning. So it was also talking about, extra staff, extra support. All of that stuff can come out of those grants. So that's the kind of stuff that if we bring people on, are being told that it's kind of like a temporary thing until till COVID is gone, and we have the funds to cover it through grants right now. Yep.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. All right. Any other questions on ESSERS 3? All right. So the next thing we have is the 2021-2022 budget. We did start our budget meetings at the building levels in January. And then February hit, and we had so many snow days and everything else that we were not able to meet with all of our actually district office staff, the staff up here. Those are scheduled for the beginning part of next week. We will finish up our budget by the end of March, and we will have a budget presentation in April. So we are moving in the right direction to get that budget out there to you. It's just cooperation with the weather didn't make it happen that we could get anything out by March, but we will be finishing them up this week, next week, I mean, and we will have a budget for first look in April with approval in May, final in June.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Any questions? All right. I'm going to turn it over to Rhonda, and she's going to talk about Able Pay.
I've been checking into a program called Able Pay. And what Able Pay is, it's a discount program that offsets expenses to employees for out-of-pocket medical expenses, any kind of deductibles, co-pays. How it works is the employee, there's no cost to the district, there's no cost to the employee. How it works is Able Pay becomes the person that pays your outstanding medical claims, and then you reimburse them. There is a percentage discount. Right now it's 13%. So if someone has a $500 deductible, they could save $65 a year. They would still get credit for their full deductible. So they would have to pay $435, but get credit for the full $500 as far as their deductible is concerned. Like I said, there is no cost associated with this to anyone. Able Pay makes their money off of their agreement with the providers. Both Lehigh Valley Health Network and St. Luke's Health Network are both participating, as well as Lancaster. There's Grandview, Penn Medicine, Mainline Health, Lancaster General Health, Health Network Labs are all participating, in which you would receive this discount. All the employees need to do is just sign up for it. They receive a card when they go to their doctor. They show their doctor. At that point, they don't have to pay anything because they will be paying Able Pay. Able Pay will then pay the provider. It's just a way to kind of offset high deductible programs. Anyone can participate. You don't even have to be part of our medical plan. You would just use Northern Lehigh as your, not provider, but as your sponsor. There are several districts in our area that use it. I have spoken to numerous of them. They are all very happy with it. They say it works very well, and that their employees, while it's slow to get started, once their employees start using it, they really like the program. So with the committee's permission, I would like to move forward with this and roll it out at the time of our open enrollment, which would be May, for beginning the program in July.
Rhonda, what's the percentage?
The percentage is 13.
Okay, and when a person leaves the office, they just go ahead and pay. They don't pay anything, but they get whatever paperwork they would normally get.
Correct. And then they pay Able Pay, like they would pay their $20 copay less 13% to Able Pay.
Okay.
Because Able Pay has the agreement with those providers that they will accept 87%.
Okay. I'm assuming there's info online that we can take a look at?
I can make sure that you get it, Donna. I'm still kind of in the working phases with everything, but I can send you what I have.
That would be great. I'd just like to take a look at it so we have that for many reasons.
Sure.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So Rhonda, you said Able, oh, I'm sorry, Donna, I thought you were finished.
No, I'm finished.
Okay, so you said Able Pay then negotiates with whoever the provider is and gets a lower price, and that's how they kind of make their money. So they
Correct.
They would need more than 13%, otherwise they wouldn't
Well,
make any money. So they would maybe go 15, 18, whatever. And
correct. They get a percentage as well. So they're sharing their discount with us, with the employee.
Okay.
Yeah, all the prices are so high anyway. They're all different depending on which insurance company it is and so forth. So they're just getting in the same game as the way the other folks do it too. So they had a negotiation.
And I just thought there's no cost to us, there's no cost to the employee, and it just seems like a way to maybe give back a little bit and help out when we all know the insurance costs are through the roof. So I just thought looking at a way to kind of help everybody out.
I appreciate the initiative. I think it's great. I really do. And we'll make sure we share that with everybody. Like you said, for open enrollment, that's a great time to do it. Great.
I'm on board, no problem.
Yep, I'm 100%.
No, I agree. That sounds good.
Sounds good at this point.
I'm very
Matt.
fine with that.
Matt, if you have any questions, L-Tri-C is a participant.
Yeah, I think I heard something about it before, but I wasn't sure exactly how they made their money. That's why I was asking. So thank you.
Great. Does anybody have anything else to discuss this evening? No? Then I guess I say thank you for attending. Unfortunately, the sun's still not shining now, but at least it's an early evening. And thank everybody for their time, and be well. Okay. Good night.
You too. Take care, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.